To say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a complicated history with TCG exclusive archetypes would be an understatement. We all know about the sky-high hits like UA and Gold Pride, and the abysmal misses. But what about the middle-of-the-pack exclusives? Archetypes that, for one reason or another, fail to make a splash not only competitively, but also culturally. The subject of today's video is one such TCG exclusive. Mutants. The West writ large has a complicated relationship with mutants. Much of the comic superhero boom that occupied a large swath of the past 40 years in the West was made up of mutants. While lame asses like Superman are aliens, and edgelords like Batman are just dudes with technology and an incoherent moral code, the world of the X-Men, the only comic book universe that the word cool should be used within spitting distance of, concerns the activities and struggles of these mutants in their fight for acceptance and survival. This parallels the fight of the mutant archetype for relevance and a cohesive game plan, because this archetype is definitely something else. Welcome to I Refuse to Read, the weekly series that always releases on Saturdays, where my viewers vote in a poll to determine which archetype I will read next, live for the very first time. Released in the TCG set Phantom Rage, this strategy revolves around low-level psychic monsters that can turbo out high-level main deck monsters and fusion summon into extra deck baddies, a very solid foundation for a deck to begin with. This archetype consists, at the time of writing, as though this deck will ever receive any future support, who am I kidding, of 15 cards, including 7 main deck monsters, 2 fusion monsters, 3 spells, and 3 traps. Balanced, as all things should be. If you want to be a part of the making of future videos, consider subscribing and keeping an eye on our community tab. Now, without further ado, let's throw it over to LiveFaker for our overview of the cards. Alright everybody, now, I have been asked for this video to go in order of release date, which is strange considering we normally go low level to high level. Even stranger though is that in my kind of precursory look to make that happen, it looks like all of these cards came out in the same set, Phantom Rage, with the exception of one, and so I'm not really sure what that's all about, but we're going to try and find out, and begin with the lowest level of the monsters released in that set. This is Mutant M05. This is a level 2 water psychic effect monster with 0 attack, 500 defense, and has the effect. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one mutant monster from your deck to your hand except itself. Pretty cool. You contribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face-up field. Special summon one monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card. Okay, so if you banish a monster, you get Mutant Beast. If you banish a spell, you get Mutant Mist. And if you banish a trap, you get Mutant Arsenal. You can only use each effect of Mutant M05 once per turn. So this is super crazy. This is insane. So first of all, it's a level 3 or lower psychic monster. That means that it is an emergency teleport target, which is something near and dear to my heart. I love Punk. I love Ritual Beast. I basically like any deck that allows me to E-Tele from deck. So I think that, playing nicely with Emergency Teleport and then having an effect that triggers on normal or special summon is insane. I'm sure you have a dozen ways to get to it. There's so much psychic support in the game. I don't know if the deck has any way to interact with the banish zone, but if it does, then the fact that you banish a card doesn't even particularly matter. I'm curious how the tribute effect works, because it says you contribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face-up field, which means I am assuming that you can't banish itself. So it has to be another card, but still, special summoning from deck is a ludicrously powerful effect all the time, and I think that that is sick. The card artwork is kind of unremarkable. We're not starting anywhere ridiculous right now. Everything kind of begins as normal. This is very clearly just a test subject in a vial. So we are going to see what's up next with Myutant ST46. This is a level 3 water psychic effect monster with 500 and 0. So it has the inverse stat line, which is pretty cool, and is 1 level higher while still being a water psychic. This means that this card is still summonable off of Emergency Teleport. So we have 2 super sick cards special summonable off E-Tele. If this card is normal or special summoned, you can add one mutant spell trap from your deck to your hand. Oh damn, hold on. ST46. Wait, and the other one's M05. So M05 searches a monster, M for monster, and ST46 searches a spell trap. That's pretty cool. I like that. You contribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face-up field. Special summon a monster from your hand or deck based off of the banished card. And I think those are the exact same as the last one. Hell yeah. So this kind of strikes me as the vampire familiar, vampire retainer kind of thing, right? The 2 low-level monsters that you can use to get your big guys into rotation. I think these cards are sick. I wonder if you play multiples of both though, or if you just kind of play one of each so that you can special summon them and then get into their effects, because they're kind of dead once you've used their effect. Although I guess you could recur them from from grave on future turns and get like the benefit of them. I wonder if this is the same monster in just like a bit more of an evolved state, because it looks super similar, but it's almost like the core has kind of opened up a little bit. Although it has like a different metal plate on the bottom, so it's presumably a different mutant entirely. All right. Oh my gosh. Well, I know what M stands for, and I know what ST stands for. This is Mutant GB88. This is a level 4 water psychic effect monster with 500 and 500. Okay, so it's got the attack and defense of both of them. I don't even know. It's cool, like thematically they would do that, but 500 and 500 isn't doing anything for anybody. It is too high level to be special summoned off E-Tele, so we are outside of the E-Tele range, and has the card effect. During your opponent's main phase, if Mutant Evolution Lab is in your field zone. Okay, well, they're spoiling the field spell early. That's fine. I think that Tindangle did that too with like Base Gardna. You can special summon this card from your hand. Oh, pretty cool. If this card is special summoned during your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card, then banish one card from your hand or face up field, special summon one of your level 8 mutant monsters that is banished or in your grave. Okay, hold on. That's interesting. So during your opponent's main phase, if you have the field spell active, you can special this card from your hand on your opponent's turn. And then if it's specialed during your opponent's turn, you can tribute it, banish another card to special summon one of your level 8 monsters that's banished or engraved. So you banish this and then another card to get a high level monster back. Oh, does GB stand for get back? Is it like you get back a level 8 monster that's banished or in the grave? That's kind of funny. I don't know. I'll have to read the level 8s to see if this is worth playing, because this is not quite as searchable, not quite as special summonable. And I feel like M05 just had like an easier way of getting into the level 8s, unless the level 8s like have effects that trigger on summon, in which case you want to summon them in response to your opponent making plays, in which case special summoning them during your opponent's turn would be more effective. The card artwork really kind of suggests that these are like the same guy, right? Because this is very clearly the little mutant core that was in MO5 and ST46, and this is just like reached its final form, it's broken contain, and it's about to become the subject of like a Dead Space game, you know? I'm not sure what's going on with the plate at the bottom, which kind of indicates that these are all different, but I just don't believe that's the case. This is clearly the same guy in the other monsters. Okay, well, it appears as though that is the end of the nasty little mutant core monsters. I think those were pretty sick, and now we're just getting into the high level guys. Let's summarize the low level guys real quick. I think that they are super strong, really good enablers, special summonable, most of them off of super powerful support, very easily searchable, very easily special summonable, and I like what they have done so far. I like that they're all waters. I like that they're all psychics. I think that it very effectively communicates that they're all basically the same guy, just kind of like getting stronger. Let us move on to the high level monsters. These are all level 8, so we'll just begin with the top left. This is Mutant Mist. Man, what is going on visually in this card? That is ridiculous. This is a level 8 wind spellcaster. Okay, so no longer water, no longer psychics. That's pretty crazy. With 2700 attack, 2900 defense, and the effect cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. Okay, your opponent cannot target this card with spell effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Mutant Mist once per turn. When your opponent activates a trap card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field, draw 2 cards. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one of your banished mutant monsters, add it to your hand. Very, very interesting. So, Mutant Mist is the card that is special summonable when you banish a spell off of like M05 or ST46. So you banish a spell, you get Mist, which I'm going to go out on a limb here. Is that like mystical space typhoon? Is that like a bit of a bridge? It's spelled obviously differently, but it like has a relationship to a spell. It is cannot be targeted by spell effects, so it's got a little bit of like protection from spells, but then it has this like reactive ability when your opponent activates a trap, so it's like the battle between spells and traps. Very, very strange from like a aesthetic perspective. I think that this card is super weak, right? Like it just has some mild targeting protection, not even like targeting against monster effects, which presumably is way more common. And then when your opponent activates a trap card, so like when is that going to happen doing anything other than negating effects or destroying the card? You banish a card in order to draw 2. And then if it's destroyed, so like not spun, not bounced, not banished, not anything like that, you can target a banished mutant monster and add it to hand, which is like fine, except for the fact that the monsters all require you to banish something else to get their full effects. So it's not even like adding one is sufficient. If it added two, I think that would be like decent recursion. I think Mutant Mist is pretty weak. It's like got a decent body on it, and the card artwork is absolutely funky, but I think that this is pretty darn weak. Wind Spellcaster, let's move on. Up next, we have Mutant Beast. Very, very nasty. This is a level 8 Earth Beast. Okay, so we've got Wind Spellcaster Earth Beast with 2400, 2400. Why does this have a weaker body than the Spellcaster? What on earth is this? Okay, and has the card effect. Cannot be special summoned except with the effects of a mutant card. Sure. Your opponent cannot target this monster with monster effects. Okay, I see where this is going. You can only use each of the following effects of Mutant Beast once per turn. When your opponent activates a spell card or effect, quick effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field. Oh, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. That's okay, that's a little bit better. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed, then you can target one of your banished mutant traps and add it to your hand. The issue that I'm having here is that the card you need to banish in order to get to these guys are not going to be the types of cards that they recur, like when you plus off of their destruction. Because if you go Mutant M05, you banish a monster to special summon Beast, now you have a banished monster, but you don't recur a monster. So like Mist requires you to banish a spell, can't be targeted by spells, and then requires a trap. Beast can't be targeted by monsters, require that you banish a monster, and then pluses when your opponent activates a spell, which makes me think that Arsenal is probably going to trigger off of like a monster effect activation. I don't know. I like the way that all these cards are playing together, and they kind of like make me believe that these are all various forms that the mutant can kind of evolve into, because I think that's the core in like the monster's chest here. Or is that his mouth? If so, he's got a huge mouth, which makes sense because he's a beast. I don't know. I think this is a pretty cool theme that the deck has going on here, but like none of these are very powerful end board pieces. But then again, they do have two fusion monsters, which is probably going to be where the real meat comes in. Our final main deck monster of the Phantom Rage era is Mutant Arsenal. This is a level 8 fire machine. So we've got wind spellcasters, earth beasts, and fire machines with 3000 and 1000. Hell yeah, there's a body. With the effect, cannot be special summoned except with the effect of a mutant card. Your opponent cannot target this card with trap effects, of course. You can only use each of the following effects of Mutant Arsenal once per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect, you can banish one card from your hand or field, then target one monster on the field, banish it. That's pretty powerful. I feel like that's the effect that you're going to get the most use out of. And then finally, if this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can target one of your banished mutant spells, add it to your hand. Okay, yeah, I think that this is probably the most effective on-field effect that you're going to get out of any of the mutant monsters. Monster effects are just so damn common, and it allows you to banish a monster on the field, which I think is super powerful. Unfortunately, it doesn't like negate the effect, kind of like Alistair, and so your opponent is still going to get to resolve whatever monster effect they were digging for, but I think it's still decent. So other than the 3 level 8s recurring a card of a different type from your banish zone, I haven't seen a lot of interaction with the banish zone. I feel like the monsters requiring themselves to be destroyed is just not likely, right? Because they've got fusion monsters, so presumably you would want to fuse into the fusion monsters, and then these things will all be sent as fusion material, not destroyed, right? So I don't know how often these guys are actually getting destroyed and not just like sent for fusion summons. I think that the level 8s are pretty disappointing. It feels like the low level monsters can get into them very effectively, and then they just don't like do enough while they're on the board. Like Arsenal's pretty okay. I feel like Beast is like a decent negate, even though it's like pretty costly and pretty specific, but I guess considering you can get into it very easily, they can't make it too strong. Okay, we are going to get into the fusion monsters now, and then we'll cover the spell traps, and then we will cover the lone level 1 at some point in this video. First, we have the ridiculous Mutant Ultimus. This is a monster of a card. Holy cow. This is a level 10 dark psychic fusion effect monster with 3500 and 3000. There we go. Requires 3 level 8 or higher mutant monsters. Oh my gosh. That's pretty costly. Has the effect. When a card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can banish one mutant card from your hand, grave, or face-up field with the same type. Interesting. Negate the activation. Pretty strong. It's an Omni, but it's not just like a boring Omni because it requires you to have a little bit of a setup. And if you do, banish that card. Cool. It's better Alistair the Invoker. If this fusion summoned card you control is destroyed by an opponent's card, why is it just destruction? Come on. You can add up to 3 of your banished mutant cards, up to 1 of each monster spell trap to your hand. Okay, this card is really, really good. I like this a lot. It's just like a huge ass body with a conditional Omni negate, and then it allows you to recur a bunch of your cards if it's destroyed though. Oh my god. Could you imagine dumping your entire hand to make Mutant Ultimus, and then your opponent just hits you with a Nightmare Unicorn or like an SP Little Knight right and it's just freaking gone. Yeah, dude, that would absolutely fill me, man. And its attack is so high that it's only ever being destroyed by card effect. It's never being run over by battle. I think that that's fine. I think that your opponent is just not going to want to destroy it, and so you're probably going to have to contend with it eating non-destruction forms of removal more often than not. But it is a pretty good Omni, and I know that I see here, I'm looking ahead, they've got a fusion spell, so maybe the ridiculous fusion requirements of 3 level 8 monsters, maybe you don't always have to actually play with those. Let's go to the other fusion monster. This is Mutant Synthesis. This is a level 9 water fusion effect monster with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. So this is the weaker fusion monster. This is like the non-ultimate one, which is fine. I probably should have led with this. This card has 2500 attack, 2000 defense, requires 2 mutant monsters with different attributes. Considering that all of the low levels are water, that means that you need a low and a high level. That's fine. If this card is fusion summoned, you can target one card on the field, destroy it. Okay, that's pretty sick. I think that's pretty strong. I haven't seen a lot of ways to quick fusion, so that's really kind of a board breaker effect so far. When your opponent activates a card effect quick effect, you can activate this effect. Okay. For the rest of this turn, this face-up card is unaffected by the effects of an opponent's card of the same type as that card. That's pretty good. If this fusion summon card you control is destroyed, you can add one of your banished mutant cards. Okay, so it's got like a weaker recursion effect than the high level one. That makes sense because it doesn't require as hefty an investment, and it's just like kind of a towers. It has like decent attack value, but realistically most decks can get over 2500. And then it has like fine protection against a single card type. I guess if it had protection from all card effects, that would probably be too much. And it does have an effect to destroy on summon, so I think that that's okay. So far the fusion monsters I don't think are super powerful payoffs. Obviously an Omni is like super powerful, and I'm sure that there's like some way to get into a one card starter with like E-Telly into like M05 or ST or something like that. So I'm sure it's not as costly as it seems, but pretty decent main deck monster lineup, at least for Phantom Rage. Up next, we're going to cover the spells and then finally the traps. We are going to begin with their field spell. This was mentioned on the effect of Mutant GB88. This is Mutant Evolution Lab. What is going on in this card art? That is so strange. I have no idea what it looks like. A helmet, but have any of these guys even worn a helmet? Not that I've seen so far. That is super weird. This is a field spell with the effect. When this card is activated, you can special summon one of your level 4 or lower mutant monsters from your hand or that is banished. Pretty good. Mutant monsters you control gain 100 attack for each of your banished mutant cards with different names. So, let's assume that you have 4 or 5. That makes everything get a little bit bigger. I like that. Once per turn during your main phase, you can place one mutant monster from your hand on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw one card. Is that just to get the high levels back into decks so you can special summon them off of the low levels? Because it says mutant monster, not like mutant spell trap, so it doesn't even let you mulligan like the entire deck. I think that the effect to special summon from banished on its own is probably pretty strong. Just like being able to banish a low level off a low level and then get it back so that you get its special summon effect, I think is probably good enough on its own. I was really hoping for like some kind of quick fusion effect, or maybe like a fusion protection, kind of like Magical Meltdown. But, this was released in 2020, so we are looking at like 5 years ago card design here. So, maybe we can't be too judgmental. It's not like there were any like crazy powerful decks running around in 2020 anyway. Yeah, I think that this is just okay. It's very middle of the road, which I think is fine. I feel like this deck does enough to like keep it interesting in casual play thus far, but I haven't seen anything that absolutely like blows the doors completely wide open on this. It does feel kind of strange that GB88 requires that card to be active. I'm certain that you play it because it's so easily searchable, and GB88 does kind of require it, and I don't know if that card is played, but I would imagine it is. I've been waiting for this card. I'm very, very excited. This is Mutant Fusion. This appears to be the moment where the low-level mutant breaks contained. If you look, it's like a bunch of broken glass, and the mutant appears to be like crawling away, so I think that we have finally reached the moment where the experiment breaks free. This is a normal spell that says, fusion summon one mutant fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field. Oh my god. If your opponent has activated a card or effect this turn, you can use up to one monster each from your deck and graveyard as fusion material. Okay, that kind of saves it a little bit. So if your opponent has like popped a card, ashed you, veilered you, drolled you, something like that, you don't have to use that incredibly expensive condition, which is super unfortunate, right? Because like, let's say you were to make Ultimus. Ultimus requires you to banish a card. So if the card is already banished, then you wouldn't be able to use it. Like you wouldn't be able to banish those cards off the effect of Ultimus. You're really hoping that your opponent has activated a monster effect so you can get the banish effect, which I think is super strong. Like banishing a monster from deck is incredibly powerful because then you can recur it off of like the field spell, or you can recur it off of the on destruction effect of any of the fusion monsters. I kind of wish that it just allowed you to use materials from deck or graveyard anyway, and didn't like make it conditional on your opponent activating a card or effect. I wish that it had just like allowed that. I don't know. I think that this is fine. I mean, it's super searchable, and under the right condition, it is significantly more powerful than like a traditional in archetype fusion spell. And so I think that it kind of works for whatever you are looking for. The last spell in the entire archetype is Mutant Blast. That's Mist, right? That is very clearly Mutant Mist on the card artwork. And I don't know if it's getting its ass kicked or doing the ass kicking. It kind of looks like it's kicking ass, which would make sense. This is an equip spell, very strange, that has the effect only equipped to a level 8 or higher mutant monster you control. Fine. At the start of the damage step, if the equipped monster attacks an opponent's special summon monster, very conditional, you can banish that opponent's monster. Okay. While this card is equipped to a monster, you can banish this card, send the monster this card was equipped to the grave, and if you do, special summon a level 8 mutant monster with a different original attribute from your hand or deck. Okay, that's pretty good. The entire like effect on battle is so strange. It's like if your monster attacks, so it's not even like if it does battle, so it doesn't function if it is attacked into a special summoned monster. Why the special summon condition? If it could just like attack a Klee monster that had been normal summoned, would that have just been too powerful? Very, very strange. And yeah, and then it's a banish, which I think is fine. I think that the ability to tag out a high level into a high level of a different attribute is pretty darn powerful. I think that's fine. Although I feel like you could theoretically just go into the high level that you wanted in the first place. I feel like there aren't a lot of instances where you can't get into the high level monster that you want to begin with, but I don't know. I think it's pretty decent. And it lets you get a lot of high level monsters into rotation in order to special summon like Ultimus, which I think is probably pretty good. All right, 3 spells, 3 traps. We are going to begin with the trap card, Mutant Expansion. What is going on here? Oh my gosh, I don't dare to even say, holy crap. This is a continuous trap with the effect. When you activate this card, you can take one level 4 or lower mutant monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. Super crazy powerful. If a level 8 or higher mutant monster you control would be destroyed by card effect, you can banish this card you control instead. You can only activate 1 mutant expansion per turn. Now that is super interesting because all of the high level monsters that have an on destruction effect say if this card is destroyed, not like if this card would be destroyed. So if you are using expansion, you're kind of like preventing the high level monsters from getting their on destruction effect, which is super strange to me. Although the ability to special summon on your opponent's turn, I think is pretty darn powerful, because if you add like GB88, then you can just like special summon it anyway, and all the other cards like get monsters into rotation, but a lot of them don't have quick effects that like allow them to act as end board pieces, so theoretically you would just want this on your turn, in which case it's probably too slow. The next trap is Mutant Clash. Oh, this is Arsenal just going crazy, right? Mutant Blast was Mist going crazy, and Clash is the Arsenal going crazy. I don't think we've seen Beast go crazy on any of these. This is a continuous trap that has the effect. When you activate this card, you can target one effect monster your opponent controls, banish one mutant monster from your grave, and if you do, negate its effects until the end of this turn. Okay. When your level 8 or higher mutant monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can draw 1 card. That's pretty good. You can only use this effect of Clash once per turn. I think that this is really strong. I think this is a pretty strong trap. It's like targeting effect negation, which I think is pretty good. And then like when your high levels run over an opponent's monster, you get to draw a card. I don't think there's a reason not to play this. This is the best trap that we've read so far. However, the final trap and the second to last card in the entire archetype is, what the hell am I looking at? What is this thing? Oh my gosh, is that Ultimus? It looks like Ultimus because Ultimus has the tentacles with the big pink at the end of it. Oh my gosh, that is just nasty. I like the helicopters around it like they're going to do a damn thing. No way. Mutant Cry is a normal trap that has the effect. During the main phase, fusion summon summon one mutant fusion monster from your extra deck by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it into the deck from among your cards in your field, graveyard, or face-up banished. Very, very interesting. I mean, theoretically, this is just pure advantage, right? Because if you banish a bunch of the level 8s, then you can just get Ultimus for free. However, then you're not going to have any monsters in grave in order to get its effect. I feel like everything in this deck, like, kind of plays with and against itself at the same time, possibly representing the broken spirit of the mutant, you know, as it's struggling through the experiments that it's been put through. I think that this is fine. This is like the only way that we've seen to quick fusion. So I think you probably play it because you can go into something like Synthesis and then pop a card on your opponent's turn, which is exactly what I was asking for. And so I can't be too upset like when I finally get it. I think this is pretty fine. The last card, and apparently this card must be the best card ever and probably fix all of the problems of the deck because I've been asked to keep this card for last. This is Myutant. So I'm gonna take it slow because this card is so very important. The card artwork makes it look like this is when they first discovered it, right? Like it landed from space, as evident by the crater around it, and then they set up like a examination area surrounding. So this is the beginning of the entire like Umbrella Corporation ass storyline with these cards. Very fine. This is a level 1 water psychic with 0/0. Okay, that's super cool. So it's level 1, and when you look at it, oh dude, hold on, I just put it together. Okay, so Mutant is a level 1 with 0/0. Mutant M is a level 2 with 0/500. ST is a level 3 with 500/0, and then GB is a 4 with 500/500. So it's very clearly just like getting stronger and growing as indicated by its level going up. I think that's super sick. Yeah, these are clearly all the same monster, getting bigger over time. I actually really, really like that. From a like thematic perspective, I think that's super cool. And then it has the effect. If you control a mutant card, you can special summon this card from your hand. Pretty sick. You contribute this card, then banish one mutant card from your hand or deck. There we go. Oh my gosh, I've been waiting for more banish from deck. Fantastic. Special summon one monster from your hand or deck based on the banished card, but lose life points. Finally, I was waiting for the lose life points card. This is a psychic archetype. We need to lose life points. Equal to that special summon monster's attack. Monster, beast, spell, mist, trap, arsenal. Oh my god, this card is nuts. So you can special summon it off E-Telly. You can special summon it off of 1/1. You can add it off of something like M05, and then because you control a mutant monster, you can special summon it. So that turns like M05 into a 1-card starter. You can go like E-Telly for M05, M05 grab mutant, mutant special summon because you control a mutant card, and then you contribute it and then banish another monster from deck in order to special summon another monster. Oh my god, this card is nuts. This is so good. Yeah. I think it was probably worthwhile leaving this thing for last. This card is insane, man. So what are my thoughts on the deck? I'm impressed at the level of consistency in the cards. There are a lot of searchers, ways to recur your cards from banishment, and the spells and traps are pretty acceptable in terms of power. I think that the high-level monsters can be bricky on their own, and I'm not sure that it's worth running things like trade-in just to get them out of your hand should you open them. Ultimus is a perfectly reasonable piece of an end board, but hardly a grand finisher on its own, which gives me the impression that any deck playing mutants plays as few as possible. Maybe just enough to special summon off E-Telly and get a level 8 body on the field? Just a guess. Another notch in the Headsman's axe that is TCG exclusives. At least the cards look super cool. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to leave a like if you liked, leave a comment if you have something to say, consider subscribing or becoming a member if you feel like you need more of this in your life. Shout out to our channel members Tyloo Rex, Ben Hart, Ruru Atori, and Sterling. You guys keep the channel moving ever forward. As for the rest of you, remember to wash behind your ears.